What's up, YouTube? I got a good one for you guys today. This is my official Marvel Rivals tier list. And listen, my comments tell me I have the worst takes on the internet, so we're going to see if that's true. So strap in. Let's get started. We're going to go Vanguards first because that's what I play. And I'm going to go ahead and say Doctor Strange is the best tank in Marvel Rivals. It's not even close. His portal is amazing. His ultimate is very, very good. His melee is great, and his projectile is also great. All of his attacks are amazing, and his AoE is also insane. When buffed with Hulk, it's game-breakingly good. Doctor Strange is by far the best tank, and I don't think it's an argument. There's nothing else here to really say. Up next, we have my main, so this might be a little biased, but I do think it's accurate. We have Thor, and we're going to place him in S tier. He is the best DPS tank on this list. There is no other tank that can match him in his damage output. His Ruined Awakening mode alone makes you an absolute monster. When used correctly, I think Thor is the second best tank. He's an off tank, and he needs good heals. He's very player dependent. But if you're on a good team, you're fine. And once you get to Platinum, it's an absolute coast. I've been coasting with this guy. I have solo queued Thor from Bronze to Platinum in 2 weeks. Not a whole lot of game time, probably about 20 hours spent. And I'm already in Plat 1 with limited difficulty. He's insane. And people keep sleeping on his ult. If you use his ult correctly, it's actually very good. I'm tired of seeing the Thor slander and seeing him rank low on people's tier list. If you think he's low, you just haven't played enough. I have to say that. I have to say it. Up next, we have Venom. Because, yeah, there he is. Listen, when the game first came out, everybody was saying how Venom was the best tank. He's B tier. I think that that's the best I can say about this guy. He's a great dive tank. I'm not taking that away from him. And there's amazing Venoms out there. But listen, once you get into high rank competitive and he dives a backline, he gets collapsed by good teams and melted so fast that he's just done. If you have a Luna or a Mantis that freezes him, he's cooked. And there's nothing else you can say about it. Venom is a great tank. Venom is a good tank, but he's not a great tank. He's a backline diver. You don't want him in big pushes. I'm sorry if you disagree. Have fun in Bronze. Just kidding. Up next, we have Penny Parker, and I think she is B tier as well. She's probably the best defensive tank in the game, but that's it. Big pushes, she's just not the move, and you need good tanks on big pushes. I'm sorry. In the later ranks, she's not as viable. She's great for defensive holding positions, but as far as like escorting payloads, not very great. Her ult's mid, her damage output's mid, her damage mitigation's also mid. She's just very middle line. Nothing too crazy. And I think that there's other characters on this Vanguard's list that are better, so that's why I'm putting her at B. Next up, we have Hulk, and I used to think he was like very bad. He's actually A tier. If you guys watch some high rank, Hulk is a very, very good tank with great traversal, a decent ult, and whenever he gets knocked into his little squishy banner mode, you have a chance to repop Hulk and come right back in the fight. That's pretty awesome. His traversal is what makes him so good. He can get in and out of fights, and he has great damage mitigation and good DPS output, and he can also stun characters, which is clutch. And when you buff him with Iron Man, he makes Iron Man an absolute god. I think Hulk is a great tank. Next up is Captain America, and I hate to say this, he's C tier. He's probably the least good tank on this list. But it's hard because I understand why people run him, but he's just not very good. He's a good dive tank, but he doesn't do enough damage. He doesn't mitigate enough damage to justify putting him next to Venom. But that's not why he's so low. He's so low because his ult is the worst ultimate in this game, and it's not even up for debate. I really hope that they do a rework of Cap's abilities because right now they just need to give him a buff because he's not usable in high rank competitive. Up next is Magneto, and I have to say he's S tier. Listen, his damage mitigation is second to none. His shields and his personal bubble that he can put on other players as well, it's absolutely insane. This guy can stay alive. If you have 3 DPSs pushing you or like a 4 DPS comp, which shouldn't happen, but he can take so much damage with his shields that it makes him an S tier tank. And also his ultimate is very good. And when buffed with Wanda, he's amazing. He's up there with Strange and what he can do when you buff him with Wanda. But just base Magneto is incredibly good. He's very, very hard to dispatch. And I don't think that that should be a controversial statement. Magneto is an S tier tank. And finally, we have Groot. He's kind of hard to place, but I'd have to say he's A tier. He's almost S, but he's just not that good. He's very, very good, but he's not perfect. His ability to wall off enemies from their heals is what makes him such a great tank option. If you have a Groot that knows how to play him, they can absolutely steamroll the enemies until they can figure out how to adjust. His ultimate's good. His DPS is great. His damage mitigation is also very good, but his escape, he has 0. He has no escape. If he had that, he'd be an S tier tank. I don't want to see them mess with that too much. I just give him slightly more health, and I think he's perfect. He's a great choice. I see why people use him. I think he's perfectly put at A tier, and that's my Vanguard list. Now, let's talk about Strategist. I think Mantis is the best. healer in this game. Listen, her ult makes you invincible. Her damage is insane when she buffs herself, and she does insane healing. She's a great choice. When I have a good Mantis on my team, I feel very secure in the fact that I'm going to stay up as a tank player. I think Mantis is a very, very, very good healer. Up next is Rocket Raccoon, and I think he is B tier. Listen, he's a good support, but his healing and damage just doesn't justify putting him above B. His ultimate's decent. His ability to respawn players is pretty clutch, but there's other heroes that do more healing, more damage, and that's why he's so low on this list. I like Rocket. He's very fun to play. If you play Rocket, I understand he can be very good, but for the most part, he's a B tier only, and I don't think that that's really arguable. Next up is Jeff the Shark. Listen, I used to think this guy was like an S tier whenever I first started playing the game because his ult was absolutely insane, but once I figured out how to get out of it, I think Jeff the Shark is a B tier strategist. He's got decent DPS. He has decent healing. His ultimate is very, very useful, but once you get with good players, they know how to avoid it, so it's not as clutch. And his traversal is okay. His healing output just isn't high enough, and his damage output's not high enough for me to put him outside of B. Next up, Cloak and Dagger. This one's very, very difficult to place, but I have to say I think Cloak and Dagger is a A-tier strategist. Does insane damage, does great healing. Her ult is also very, very good. The fact that she can swap between DPS and healing is really cool. Once you go to the DPS mode as Cloak, you can't heal. So if you're doing high damage, you can't heal as well. I think she's great. I understand why people main her. When I have a good Cloak on my team, I feel pretty secure as well. She does great. She's good. She's very, very, very good. She's just not perfect. So I think she's perfectly slotted for A tier. Next up is Luna Snow, and she is S tier, and the reason why is she is a slightly nerfed Mantis, and it doesn't matter. She's still very, very good. When you have a Mantis and a Luna on your team, you're okay as long as they know how to do their job slightly. Her ultimate is the same as Mantis. It's pretty much makes you guys invincible. Insane healing. Also, her freeze makes backline diving not a problem. Her damage output's great, and her healing is just very, very good. I don't know what else to say here. And her movements, she's very fast. Mantis is easily a S tier healer. No argument can change my mind. Next up, we have Loki. Honestly, Loki's A tier. He's got great heals. His ultimate is what makes him so good. He can copy any ultimate in the game, making him an absolutely clutch player when used correctly. He also has insane escape. He's very hard to knock out because of what he can do. He can go invis. He can swap with his clones. He can just stay alive. And his healing is very good, and so is his DPS. Very good Lokis are very big problems. I think Loki's perfectly slotted for A tier. The only reason why he's not higher is he can't do as much healing as Mantis and Luna. Last up, we have Adam Warlock. This one's very difficult to place as well, but I'm going to go ahead and say B tier. Great damage. Decent healing. The Resurrection ult, very useful. He doesn't do more damage than Cloak and Loki, in my opinion, when run correctly, and he doesn't do as much healing as those two as well. That's why we're putting him with Jeff the Shark and Rocket. I think he's a great off healer. He has a decent kit. I just don't think he's as good as Cloak and Loki. That's why we have to put him below him. And that is my official Strategist Marvel tier list. That's my official Strategist Marvel Rivals tier list. Moving on to Duelist. Right now, I think that Psylocke is the best Duelist in this game. She has insane DPS, great traversal, great escapes, an insane ultimate. Nothing is wrong with this character. I've seen Psylocke drop 50 bombs, and you really can't answer her with much. Even if you focus her as a DPS, it's hard to get her. She can melt tanks. She can melt anybody in this game. Absolutely broken. Best Duelist in the game by far. Up next is Black Widow, and I think she is a D tier. The only reason why she's not E or Z or F is because it doesn't go that low. I think she is one of the worst DPS Duelists in this game. Ultimate doesn't do much. Damage output, there's just better snipers. She's not the best sniper either. And her traversal is mid. I think she is a pretty bad DPS. She's not the worst Duelist. The worst Duelist would actually go to Storm. Storm is by far the worst character in the game, and it's not even close. Her ult would put her slightly above Black Widow, but her damage output would make her less. That's why we had her ult's better than Black Widow's, but it doesn't do enough to justify putting her above Black Widow in terms of who's the better Duelist between the two trashiest players in the game. She just glides around, gets easily picked out of the sky, no escape, no hardcore damage. I'm not worried when I see Storm floating around. And even when she's hitting me, mainlining me, I don't even feel it. Up next, we have Black Panther. I think he's B tier. Great backline diver, good damage, good ult, good traversal. There are other better characters that I think you'd put above Black Panther, so we're going to put him B tier. Next up is Moon Knight. He is B tier. In low rank lobbies that don't know how to deal with his onks, he's S tier. But once you get with players that know how to handle him, he becomes a little less usable. Still a great character choice to main, but right now, I don't think he's as good as some of the other Duelists here, so we're going to put him B tier. He's got great maneuverability. His ult is honestly why he's so low. His ult and his onks. His ult is really bad, and his onks are easy to dispatch. He's B tier. Sorry. Next up is Namor. I almost want to put him S tier, but I'm going to put him in A. Very, very, very good. Does insane damage. His turrets are great. His ult is good. And his little ability to go up in the sky when he's getting hurt and just cocoon himself and heal is absolutely insane. Namor is one of the most underrated characters in the game by far. Next up, we got Iron Fist. I think he's A tier. I really do. I've seen some insane Iron Fist out there. He can actually sit in the front lines when healed correctly and you have good tanks positioned around him, and he does insane damage. He can backline dive. He can sit in the front lines. He can do it all. His ult is absolutely insane as well. Great duelist pick. Next up is Squirrel Girl. I'm going to say C tier, and that's specifically because I've probably run across her 6 times in my 80 hours of playing this game. I don't see her very often. Her ult is absolutely awful. Her damage output seems okay, but I don't know anything about her because I don't see one picking her, so we're going to put her low. Next up, Scarlet Witch, B tier. When this game first came out, I thought she was S tier, but once you learn how to get out of her ultimate, you start realizing she's not very good. Her damage output's just not great. Her little auto-aim thing doesn't do enough damage for me to have to worry about her. As long as you can get out of her ultimate, she's not a problem. Punisher, A tier, easy. Does great, consistent damage. His turret's amazing. He can block almost any single ult in this game, and his ultimate's very good. It's a little squishy, but he is almost an S tier duelist. A couple of adjustments, and this guy's broken. Next up, we have Hela. She's easily S tier. She does insane damage. She's the most banned character in Marvel Rivals competitive right now because she has a seasonal buff that makes her absolutely cracked. We'll see how she does after that buff goes away. But right now, she is one of the best duelists in the game, and I don't think it's an argument. Wolverine. This is going to split the crowd here. I think he's A tier. He's an absolute machine when used correctly. He's very, very underrated. A lot of people have been putting him low on the tier list, and I don't understand why. And competitive, when I run across Wolverines that are really good, they are big, big problems because they can pick up your tanks and take them to the enemy team and let everybody just collapse on them. Absolutely insane. And he has the ability to reduce the incoming damage, almost like buffing himself. And it's insane. And his ult's pretty good as well. Great, great pick for Duelist. Spider-Man, B tier. I think he has insane movement, and when you have really good players, he's a problem. But once you get in good teams and big pushes, this guy right here is not doing a whole lot. His ultimate's very good, but his overall pick damage, low. I think he's not a big problem when you're on a good team. Iron Man, A tier. He's underrated right now. A lot of people think he's bad and get nervous when they're on this team. But once you get to high rank and they start banning Hawkeye and Hela, he becomes very usable again. When buffed by Thor, he's absolutely insane. When buffed by Thor, and you get rid of Hela and Hawkeye and high rank competitive, he's S tier. But base form, he's just A tier. Insane movement, one of the funnest characters to play. His ult's absolutely broken. I think Iron Man's really, really cool. Really, really well made. A tier. Magic, B tier. Good brawler, but there's better brawlers on this list. Not else to say here. Good traversal, good escapes, great damage. Just not good enough to put above, Moon Knights and Spider-Man. Star-Lord, A tier. Very, very good DPS choice here. Almost S tier. His ult is absolutely insane. Great movement, great escapes. What else you want me to say? Hawkeye, S tier. Does insane damage. Does absolutely insane. He can one-shot squishies and like 4-shot tanks on headshots. Absolutely insane. His jump, his little double jump almost makes me want to put him in an A tier because it's pretty bad. But the rest of his kit is absolutely goated. Insane pick. And lastly, we have Winter Soldier. I think he's almost S tier, but I'm going to stick him in A. Very, very good choice. A good tank disruptor. He does insane damage. His ult's absolutely broken right now. Very, very good pick, but I think we had to put him in A tier. I don't think he's better than Punisher, Iron Fist, or Namor, so we had to put him in A tier. He's well suited there. And that's my official Marvel Rivals Duelist tier list. And that does it. That's my official ranking right now as the current season's going. As we get new characters, as they do more seasonal buffs, this list is going to fluctuate a lot. But this is what I think is the perfect Marvel Rival tier list. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to like, comment down below. Tell me what you think. If you want to argue with me, go ahead, baby. We'll see you around. Take it easy, fam. Peace.